You know, when you buy a luxury watch, like a Rolex, for instance,
Oh.
you pay this massive premium for that brand name because you just assume the internal gears are absolutely flawless.
Right, you're buying the certainty.
Exactly. I mean, you don't open it up to check the little springs and cogs. You just trust the name on the dial.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine popping the back off that Rolex and finding a cheap, malfunctioning digital chip hot glued inside.
That would be pretty devastating.
Right. That feeling of instant stomach-dropping betrayal, that is exactly what we are exploring in today's deep dive.
Yeah, and honestly, it perfectly captures what is happening right now at the very highest levels of corporate advisory.
Yeah.
We are looking at a system where the glossy, prestigious exterior remains completely intact, but the actual internal mechanisms of research and verification has been, well, they've been quietly and disastrously swapped out.
Swapped out for automated systems that nobody fully controls.
Exactly.
So, today, our mission is to unpack this single, highly provocative piece of commentary. It's centered around a viral LinkedIn post by Nicholas P., and then there's this subsequent incredibly deep analysis by a consultant named Naavi.
Which is fascinating, by the way.
Oh, it's mind-blowing. The core topic is being called the Big Four default.
Right.
We are exploring what happens when the most prestigious legacy consulting firms in the world get caught passing off AI hallucinations as expert advice, and how this completely shatters our traditional frameworks of corporate trust and governance.
It really breaks the whole model.
It does. And to you listening, you likely rely on experts or reports or consultants to help you make big decisions in your career, your business, or your life.
We all do.
But what if the expert advice you paid top dollar for is just a hallucination passed through a human? How do you protect yourself from being duped by a glossy cover? Let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's get into it.
To understand how these internal gears are malfunctioning, we have to look at two specific, honestly jaw-dropping examples from the source material. Let's start with KPMG back in October 2025.
Oh, man. Yeah, the KPMG incident is it's a watershed moment for the consulting industry.
For sure.
So they published this highly polished, totally authoritative report about the miracle of agentic AI.
And just real quick, for the uninitiated, agentic AI isn't just like a chatbot that answers your questions. Right?
No, not at all. It's an artificial intelligence designed to act as an autonomous agent, meaning it makes its own decisions, it executes multi-step tasks, and it interacts with other software systems without a human holding its hand.
Which sounds great on paper.
Right, and at KPMG presented this report as rigorous industry research meant to guide massive multi-million-dollar corporate investments into these exact autonomous systems.
But the devastating reality here, and the source points this out so clearly, is that 40 out of 45 citations in that report were totally fake.
Yeah, 40 out of 45.
It's just absurd. Half the claims were completely invented by the AI that clearly helped write the report. It even contradicted KPMG's own survey numbers.
This is the crazy part.
And here's where it gets genuinely embarrassing.
Yep.
The AI hallucinated a citation from a 2019 East Japan Railway press release.
Right, presented as historical evidence of agentic AI.
Yes. The author of the original post joked that they were blowing enough smoke to give a new definition to full steam ahead.
That's a great line. But I mean, the sheer scale of the failure is what makes it so alarming,
Yeah.
It wasn't just a typo or a misplaced decimal point. It was a complete systemic collapse of basic verification.
Right. Nobody checked the work.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
The authors relied on a tool to do the thinking for them and just pushed it out. And there is a profound, almost painful irony buried in the source material here.
Oh, the integrity thing.
Yes. In that very same report, KPMG claimed that integrity was the #1 driver of customer loyalty.
You literally cannot make that up.
Yeah, I know.
They published a finding about integrity being paramount just 8 months before their own integrity completely disintegrated in public view.
Right. It highlights this massive disconnect between the values these legacy firms are selling and the actual internal processes they are relying on to generate their products.
Yeah, and KPMG isn't alone here. The source brings up Deloitte as well.
Oh, right. Deloitte.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Deloitte fed AI hallucinations into a government report, got caught, cut a refund check, and basically just walked away. Just
Oops, here's your money back.
exactly. But the source makes a crucial point here. A refund doesn't unspend the taxpayer money that went into the surrounding project.
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't unmake the real-world policy decisions that were built on that absolute fiction.
Well, yeah, because when a government or a massive corporation acts on fabricated data, the ripple effects are enormous.
Yeah,
And they're irreversible.
Right.
You can't just issue a refund and pretend the physical infrastructure or the policy changes magically revert to how they were.
But hold on, let me push back on this a little
Sure.
bit.
Yeah.
If the punishment for hallucinating a government report is essentially just handing back the fee, like a surgeon botching a major operation and just refunding your copay, aren't we actively incentivizing these massive firms to keep using AI as a cheap shortcut?
Oh, absolutely. It creates a massive moral hazard.
Because it's so cheap.
Right. I mean, if the cost of getting caught is just pocket change compared to the billions these firms make annually, the financial incentive is heavily skewed toward using cheap, unverified AI outputs.
Yeah, the penalty doesn't match the crime.
Exactly. The financial penalty does not match the systemic risk they are introducing into the economy.
Mhm.
Fines and refunds just become another line item, just a standard cost of doing business rather than an actual deterrent.
Which really begs the question, if these firms aren't actually selling accurate human-verified research anymore, what exactly is the product?
And the source argues that the product has always been trust.
Right.
The source provides this really evocative definition of KPMG's legacy to explain this.
I love this part.
Yeah, so picture a 130-year-old global concrete icon. 250,000 people spread across 140 countries. Historically, those four letters, KPMG, meant that a banker in Frankfurt could look at a ledger, believe it implicitly, and make $1 million decision without ever flying to Singapore to shake the hand of the accountant who wrote it.
They weren't selling math.
No, they were selling the confidence to act.
Like the ultimate luxury watch brand. You trust the name on the dial.
Exactly. And the source makes a vital distinction here between trust and assurance.
Okay, break that down for us.
So trust is an organic, fundamental belief in a partner's goodwill and competence. Assurance, on the other hand, is the mechanical process you have to sell when that organic belief is gone.
Ah, I see.
And the author argues that this unquestioned trust is essentially a loan that society gave to the Big Four over the last century. And right now, they are starting to default on it.
Hence, the Big Four default.
Exactly.
And the mechanism driving this default is something the source calls the human zombie.
Which is such a great term.
It is. The text explains that when humans use AI for assistance but fail to keep their human control intact, they churn out outputs that look like human decisions. But actually, it is just an AI hallucination passed through a human zombie.
Yeah, the psychological mechanisms play here is what we often call automation bias.
Right.
Humans have this natural tendency to over-rely on automated systems, especially when the output is formatted nicely in a slick PDF.
It looks professional, so it must be right.
Exactly. So the human becomes nothing more than a vessel, like a fleshy conduit for an algorithm.
Wow. Fleshy conduit.
Yeah. I mean, they aren't applying expertise, context, or critical thinking. They are hitting copy, paste, and slapping a prestigious logo on the cover.
And the danger multiplies, right? Because as the source notes, many companies have absolute blind faith in that logo. Boards of directors use the Big Four's reputation to cover up their own inability to understand complex technical realities.
They absolutely do.
But, I mean, hasn't corporate America always outsourced the heavy lifting to sleep-deprived junior analysts?
Yeah.
So how is a glitchy algorithm any different, or really any worse, than an exhausted 22-year-old intern making a massive typo on a spreadsheet at 3 a.m.?
Well, the difference lies in the scale, the speed, and that veneer of absolute authority.
Okay.
An intern might mess up one formula on one spreadsheet. An autonomous AI can fabricate entire data sets, invent historical citations, and generate hundreds of pages of plausible-sounding fiction in milliseconds.
Milliseconds, yeah, that's fair.
Plus, an intern's work is typically reviewed by a manager who possesses a healthy skepticism because they know the intern is a novice.
Right. You don't treat the intern's first draft as gospel.
But when an AI output is wrapped in a legacy consulting logo, it bypasses that skepticism entirely. The board of directors accepts it as absolute truth.
Because it says KPMG or Deloitte on it.
Right. The human zombie at the consulting firm didn't verify it, and the human zombie on the corporate board doesn't verify it because they assume the consultant did.
It creates a chain of unquestioned authority.
Exactly, where critical thinking has been entirely eliminated from the process.
It's just zombies passing notes to other zombies.
Basically, yeah.
And if the human board is just a rubber stamp, it begs a pretty dark question raised by the source material. Why even pay the human?
Right.
If human directors are failing to do their jobs and just blindly accepting hallucinated reports, Should they just be replaced by an AI board?
This takes the argument to its logical and honestly somewhat terrifying conclusion.
It really does.
The source points out that AI executives aren't science fiction anymore. We are already seeing the escalation of AI decision makers in the real world.
Like Mika.
Yes, Mika, an AI that was made the experimental CEO of a company called Dictador.
Which is wild.
It is. You are handing the reins of a corporation over to a model that could hallucinate a strategy and effectively bankrupt the company overnight.
And it scales up from the corporate level to the national level, too. The text brings up Diela, an AI being tested in Albania.
Right.
We're talking about an AI that could hallucinate policy decisions and potentially ruin an entire country.
Yeah, and the author contrasts these extreme examples with Sophia, the humanoid robot famously granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I remember Sophia.
Yeah, so the text suggests Sophia's decision-making capacity might be relatively less risky than Mika's, which in turn is less risky than Diela's, simply because the underlying models possess different levels of computational power and systemic access.
That makes sense.
The more power the model has to act autonomously, the higher the risk of a catastrophic hallucination.
It's like skipping the training wheels entirely. We go from blindly trusting a consultant who secretly used AI straight to trusting an AI to officially run the whole show.
Exactly.
But here is the real question for you. Is a hallucinating AI officially in charge actually worse than a human director who just rubber stamps a hallucinated Big Four report?
Well, I'd say at least if the AI is explicitly named as the CEO, everyone in the room knows exactly what kind of risks they're dealing with.
That's true. It's out in the open.
Right. The current system, the human zombie system, is infinitely more dangerous precisely because it maintains the illusion of human oversight where none actually exists. It lulls stakeholders into a false sense of security.
And this illusion of oversight isn't just a fun late-night philosophical puzzle. According to the source, it is actively colliding with real-world legislation right now.
Yes, it is.
The text takes these exact lessons and applies them directly to India's regulatory environment, specifically regarding the DPDPA.
Right, the DPDPA. That's India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act.
Okay.
It is a massive legal framework dictating exactly how companies collect, store, and process user data. If a company gets the compliance wrong, the legal and financial penalties are severe.
So the stakes are high.
Very high. And the source brings up a recent debate sparked by a recommendation from the Economic Times referred to as the ET recommendation.
Right.
That recommendation suggested companies should simply install an AI agent to automatically handle their DPDPA compliance.
And the author of our source material, Naavi, strongly pushes back against this idea. The text outlines a massive policy clash happening right now.
It's a huge debate.
Yeah, so on one side, you have the innovation over restraint approach. This is advocated by major tech companies and often endorsed by powerful Indian industry bodies like NASSCOM and the government ministry MeitY.
Right.
And then on the other side, the author is pleading for a policy of restrained innovation. We're just laying out both sides here impartially, obviously.
Yeah, of course. And those industry bodies, NASSCOM and MeitY, generally represent the push for rapid technological adoption and economic growth.
Which makes sense for them.
Absolutely. The Innovation Over Restraint camp argues that moving fast and deploying AI agents is absolutely essential for efficiency and keeping pace globally. Any friction slows down progress.
Okay.
But the author's argument for restrained innovation stems directly from the KPMG and Delight failures we just talked about.
I see the connection.
If an AI agent hallucinates your data privacy compliance, you aren't just getting a bad report, you are actively breaking federal law.
And the scariest part of this compliance nightmare is the hidden nature of AI.
Oh, this is a critical point. The author discusses the challenge of identifying AI when it is embedded in standard, seemingly permissible software tools.
Right.
Because modern software isn't built from scratch. Developers use background libraries and APIs, pre-written chunks of code that they just plug into their systems.
It's like buying a certified organic salad at the store, completely unaware that the fertilizer used 3 steps down the supply chain was actually contaminated.
That is exactly how it works. You might be using a basic legal drafting tool or some compliance software, completely unaware that the vendor recently updated a background library to include a generative AI model.
So it's sneaking in.
Yes. An AI hallucination could silently sneak into critical software code, or as the source points out regarding the judiciary, into a formal court pleading.
Without anyone knowing.
Without the end user ever actively typing a prompt or realizing an AI was involved at all.
Because it's buried in the background machinery. And this leads to a very intense demand from the author. The source states, and I quote, "Unless a user of AI is able to read and understand every line of text created by an AI generative system, he will be inviting a trap."
It's a strong statement.
It is. But if an AI is buried deep in a background software library, how can a judge or a corporate director possibly read and understand every line of code? Isn't the author demanding an impossible, literally superhuman level of oversight?
Well, it is an incredibly high bar and perhaps practically impossible in complex technical environments.
Right.
But the author is establishing a vital legal and ethical principle here. Absolute liability.
Meaning you're responsible no matter what.
Exactly. Ignorance of your digital supply chain is no longer an excuse. If you deploy a tool to write a legal pleading or generate a compliance audit, you own every single word it produces.
Even if a machine wrote it.
Regardless of whether a human wrote it or a hidden AI library hallucinated it. The extreme demand is born out of the extreme risk of that human zombie scenario.
So if superhuman oversight of every single line of hidden code is practically impossible, how do we actually fix this? We can't just throw our hands up, right?
No, we have to adapt.
So the source pivots from identifying the problem to proposing a structural solution. And it really comes down to changing how we audit the auditors.
Yes. The text emphasizes that directors must regain the ability to ask the right questions before accepting reports. But they need a structural framework to help them actually do that.
Right.
And this is where the source introduces the AADI, the Association of Independent Data Auditors.
And the key word there is independent. The source stresses that AADI advocates for strict principles of independence that specifically distinguish them from the Big Four or other legacy auditors.
That's the core idea.
So what does that independence actually look like in practice?
Well, the author proposes two main solutions rooted in this independence. First, the scope of a DPDPA audit, the actual parameters of what is being tested, must be written independently by someone other than the auditor or the company being audited.
Okay, so they can't grade their own homework.
Exactly. This prevents the consulting firm from defining the test in a way that guarantees they will pass it.
Makes total sense.
Second, they propose mandatory peer reviewing of DPDPA compliance audit reports. You don't just trust the first audit. You have an independent peer functionally verify the math.
And the source mentions that Naavi is actively developing a DPD-PSI framework specifically for reviewing a DPDPA audit.
Right, practical tools.
Yeah, the explicit recommendation is that if a company got a gap assessment from a Big Four firm, they shouldn't just trust it blindly. They need to get it reviewed by independent auditors from ADI.
Verify, verify, verify.
But let's bring this back to your practical reality to the listener. If you're a director, you can't just buy a Big Four stamp of approval anymore to cover your own lack of knowledge. You have to audit the audit.
You do.
But doesn't adding another layer of peer-reviewing auditors actually just create a brand new group of people we have to blindly trust? Like, who watches the watchers?
Yeah, that is the perennial challenge of governance, right?
Hmm.
Who watches the watchers? However, the framework the source suggests is designed to shift the very basis of trust.
Oh, so.
Well, instead of trusting a firm based purely on its century-old brand reputation, you are trusting a structural system of checks and balances.
Okay.
The independence of the reviewer is the key mechanism here. They have absolutely no financial incentive to cover up the original auditor's hallucinations. In fact, their entire job is to find them.
So it replaces blind brand loyalty with structural friction.
Exactly.
When you look at this whole picture, I mean, from KPMG's fabricated citations all the way to AI executives running companies and these practical frameworks for data protection in India, it forces a total rewrite of how we operate.
It really does.
The prestige of the messenger no longer guarantees the accuracy of the message.
Because the legacy systems of trust simply were not built to handle the scale and speed of automated fabrication.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, here's your takeaway for today. The next time you are handed a glossy, authoritative report, whether it's from a giant consultancy, a slick new software tool, or even your own internal team, remember the concept of the human zombie.
Great advice.
Your job isn't just to read the output and nod. It is to relentlessly question the invisible machinery and the background libraries that generated it. Do not let a prestigious logo stop you from opening up the back of the watch and asking basic questions about how the gears actually work.
I love that. And, I'd like to leave you with one final thought to ponder here.
Let's hear it.
We've spent this whole time discussing how AI hallucinations destroy trust in our institutions. But consider the flip side of that coin.
Okay.
If, say, 10 or 20 years from now, we actually build AI systems that are factually perfect, systems that never hallucinate and always execute flawlessly, will we finally achieve total mathematical assurance? And if we do, will the very human emotion of trust become completely obsolete in the business world?